You may not have a lead problem. You might just have a leak. And let me unpack this. And until you fix the leak, adding more volume might just exhaust you faster in this business. So welcome to part 3 now of this 3-part mini-series as I've relaunched the Realm podcast. The goal to start this mini-series was to sum up like 32 episodes into 3 power-packed, kind of thought-provoking episodes that you can restart this journey with me. Part 3 is the final episode, and then we'll transition to other things. Part 1, if you can remember, was all about stop drifting. All right, if you haven't listened to that one, please go back to the 2. The second one was choosing our avatar. All right, we need to pick a lane. All right, and then you get to play hard in it. And now part 3 might be the most relieving, of the 3, because it finally brings us massive precision. So we don't need in this one a full rebuild. I would never ask you to do that, but you do need to know which lever is the right one in your business. That's the precision we're looking for. So I'm going to anchor this in with one message. Pressure doesn't create the progress. It's the precision. It's understanding which is that thing we need to target. All right, so let's dive into why this matters again at the beginning so that we can hammer this concept home. Most agents, we're not overwhelmed because, again, we're weak or we just can't do this or this business is too hard. We're overwhelmed because we keep trying to fix everything in our business all at once, right? We're trying to shotgun it rather than to target it with precision. What we do is we might rebuild lead gen, then follow up, then client processes, then content, then systems, schedules, branding, logos, websites, and I could go on, all at the same time, completely diluting our efforts. And then we just completely burn out because in this business, you and I know we wear too many hats. And then when we're trying to wear them all at once, God help us, right? That's why we're tired. Not because we're incapable, because of that exact process. Because our approach is panic and then pile it on. Panic, fix the leak, right? Here's that reframe, right? Pressure doesn't create the progress. It's the precision we're going to seek out in this episode that does. So let me give you a story. I tell a lot of stories. I'll do a lot of reading. I like to give it something that lands home, separate from the real estate industry. And one real world example was, I don't know if you remember this, it was U.S. Airways flight 1549, if I can remember. Maybe I'm wrong. It was called the Miracle of the Hudson. See, their engines failed. When the engines failed, the situation didn't require them just piling on more effort to figure it out. It wasn't going to be panic that was going to solve the solution. No, when the engines failed, the pilots had to think through with precision the right diagnosis to say, how do we get out of this situation, right? It was being calm. It's about having a process. I'm even getting tinglies on my arm right now. It was about creating one move that allowed them to figure this out. And that is what they did. And that's how they landed that plane and they saved everyone. And that's the point for your business, friends. When you feel the pressure, our instinct is to add volume, to move faster. It's got to go, 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 go. But pressure is the moment we need the precision, right? Pressure, precision, if I can't even write, means smiley face. All right, so what is the what? All right, I've given you guys 2 different tests to go through, and one in part 1, one in part 2. This one I'm calling is your leak test. All right, your business is leaking in one of 5 places, right? So one of these, and it probably is leaking in more, but there's one where the hole is largest, that if we did the one thing, we have the best chance to create results. So let's walk through this. The seed test, right? Whether you know my acronyms or not, seed leak would mean this. We don't have enough conversations in our business, period, right? It's feast and famine. They call, they don't call. They call, they don't come. I have a sprint prospecting hour, I don't. I work hard this week. No, I don't, right? So we're restarting. There's inconsistent outreach. So seed leak. Is this yours? Possibly. You might have a nurture leak, right? What does this mean? Well, this is a follow-up gap for us, meaning the leads that we have die out. We just don't do a good job in our CRMs and our Outlooks and our databases and our DMs. We don't create these leads into appointments, right? We might be slow to respond. We forget to respond. Things fall through the cracks. We have no system. That might be your position. There's the harvest test, right? That's the third phase of the real estate business. And this is in the active client world, right? This is where we might have sloppy execution. We get to finally play realtor here. So this might look like we're stressed in the process. We feel like every time a new buyer or seller comes, I'm restarting the whole process all over. I don't have anything documented. There's no SOPs. There's no checklists. There's no process. I'm dropping balls, right? I'm always behind. It feels like some agents can do 6 clients at once, but you can only do 1, right? You've never processed it. That might be your harvest, right? The regrowth test is a little different, right? This is about closings that don't fuel more business for you. Closings that don't fuel more business. So what do I mean? We close things, shoo, I get through it, right? Then it goes quiet. I do nothing. I just restart from zero. There's nothing about the opportunity that goes into my process. It's just a closed deal, a handover client, a call from the lawyer and says you can release the keys, and that's it. All right, that could be where you're failing. That might be your leak. And then the last one is the Mother Nature test. And what do I mean by this? This is where we plan our businesses. The Mother Nature phase is about planning. It's about KPIs. It's about the scoreboard. It's about control. It's like, how do I run the business? So the Mother Nature leak test would be this. I'm constantly reacting. I don't do a Sunday night planning session. I don't track anything. I have no rhythm to the business. The business runs me. Time runs me. You feel like you never have enough time. There's no plan, right? And here's what I want you to really think about in this leak test. Fix the leak before we add volume. But we're so easy to just keep adding volume without slowing down to fix the leak. We try to pour more water, more things, instead of fixing the holes in the bucket. Again, not a great opportunity. So how do we do this? How do we turn this leak test, if once you decide which one of those phases is the ones where you have the biggest hole? We have this linchpin opportunity, right? Linchpin is like a tiny hinge can open big doors in our business. The linchpin is the one thing that can just lever the business ahead. And the rule is simple. The linchpin is the phase that, if fixed, makes the next 90 days way easier, way funner, way more like we get excited in this business when we got business on the go and things are flowing, right? So let me say that again. The linchpin is the phase that, if fixed, right? If fixed, makes the next 90 days easier. I want you to think about that. Pause. If I could coach you right now, it'd be like I'm pausing, I'm making you think this through, right? It's not the phase that you like, right? It's the phase that creates the relief. It's that linchpin moment, open up the big doors, it creates momentum. Now, the next step is not to fix everything everywhere, right? The next step, once you figure out which of the phases, which is the star for you, is to use something that I've defined as the success triangle. The success triangle is this overarching filter that if I could just place this over everything in my business, you layer it right over the linchpin, right? This is, again, back to its traditional, meaning in-person rubbing shoulders, right? This is digital, meaning the digital world of emails, YouTube, etc. Then there's social, meaning social media and all the things to do with content. There's really only 3 things, right? Ways that we can kind of touch every part of our business. So once you find the linchpin, we want to overarch this, and we want to ask, right? You're going to ask a few things. Which leg, right? Which phase is the one that's missing? The biggest hole, right? Where is it the weakest? Like where you just know that that's the thing that needs to solve. That's where most of the water's pouring out. Where can I execute consistently because of where I'm at in the business, right? So here's a few examples for you to get thinking about. So if our linchpin phase is seed, right? If that's for you, conversations, right? We're going to layer over this success triangle onto seed to say, traditionally, right? Face to face, open houses, at the front door, making calls, hosting events, right? How are you doing here? If seed is your thing, I need to have more conversations. Traditionally, where on this tripod does this sit, right? If I had a tripod and there's 3 legs here, right? Is my traditional leg a little weak, right? Then I would ask about the digital side, right? The digital leg. These are texts, emails, DMs, structured outreach. How are we doing there, right? 1 to 10, right? Where's the biggest gap? Social, right? If it's about conversations, is there content that's creating inbound and give you reasons to reach out? I want you to think about these. Where about in the seed conversations is the biggest linchpin opportunity for you? It's only one of these 3, which is really good to know. Maybe if we give you an example around nurture, right? Maybe that's your linchpin phase. You realize it's the follow-up for you. Drop the success triangle over top you, right? Traditional, right? Are you having in-person follow-ups? Are you showing back up to the door? Are you doing consultations? Are you doing in-person check-ins? Are you having those coffee dates? Digitally, right? Do you have email sequences built, right? There's a reminder set up in your calendar so you're not just using your brain to remember, which is scary, right? Do you have speed built into your process, right? Socially, right? If it's about follow-up, is there proof of success for them to peek to? Is there visibility? Do you show up often enough, right? Are you building the trust, right? And if you, again, go back to the triangle, and if you overlaid it as a stool, is there one that needs to be shored up? All right, if your linchpin is harvest, we're going to ask the same questions, right? This is the client experience. This is doing the deals, right? Traditionally, is there some good communication you're having with your clients? Traditionally, one-on-one, laying out the expectations, doing the great negotiations. You're negotiating with your clients, you're negotiating with realtors. How are you doing within that leg? Digitally, do you provide checklists and templates, and is there a process that you're following? Or is it all sloppy because there's none of that? You know what? Yeah, I know what I'm doing, but I've never digitized it. I've never processed it. I never created a process. I just run and gun. Socially, right? In the harvest, during the journey, are you documenting? Are you sharing? Are you using this opportunity of a walking proof of success to further explore kind of how you can showcase yourself in this process? Is that the biggest linchpin for you? And we can keep going. We go to the regrowth phase, friends, right? Because once you find your linchpin, maybe it's about momentum. Many of you listening are high producers, right? And the first three so far are actually decently dialed in. But the regrowth phase, you know you're leaving money on the table. You're not willing to put in that extra level of effort. So traditionally, you layer over the success trial again. And are you asking for referrals? Are you even giving you a chance, right? Are you planting the seeds for referrals? Are you hosting client events with the people that have had events? Are you providing gifts that make them remember you, right? Traditionally. Digitally, do you have a set of post-close touch points? Again, that after the keys are handed off and their life has gone from crazy to closing, and then they move on to their new world, is there touch points? Are you gathering reviews? Are you providing anniversaries? Do you have this documented anywhere? Maybe this is a massive opportunity for you. Again, now you've closed the home. Socially, we have this ability to storytell, to show true proof that it reinforces trust. And if you're listening to this, most markets around North America are still lower than in years past. So these proof of successes matter. And then finally, maybe your linchpin was the Mother Nature phase, right? And we got to think back to the tripod. Maybe it's the weekly planning, it's setting boundaries, creating some non-negotiables in your calendar, right? Maybe digitally you don't have a scoreboard yet. You don't have discipline in the calendar. The time blocks are not being set. The tracking is not set in motion, right? Maybe for the Mother Nature, again, the planning phase, right? You're getting distracted. You're allowing yourself to doom scroll. Social media takes over your life, and there's a reason why if you could just shut this off of your phone for a while, it could be the one linchpin that allows you to create execution. So it's one phase, right? It's one leg, right? Executed long enough to make a difference in your business. So let me paint the picture of what if you took this seriously in part 3. I really want you to. Imagine what changes in 90 days. When you stop trying to fix everything. You got a career to fix this stuff, and you fix the right thing. You find the biggest hole in the boat and you patch it, right? The default stops, right? The guilt of like, I'm not creating the life, the business, the design that others are, and I should be too. And you create momentum that starts to return in your business. And this is what roaming's all about. It's realtors on a mission, business by design, not by default. See, this is not about hype. This is not about noise. It's not about latest trends. It's about precision. It's about decisions. And it's ultimately about execution. So, guys, gals, we have to stop trying to fix it all. Can we please do that? We need to find the leak. Right? We need to choose the phase. We need to pick the leg of the tripod. It's pretty simple, right? We fix before we add volume. Pressure doesn't create the progress. The precision of that decision does. See, we build by design, not by default. Now, if I could just leave this with you, if I could just let you sink on part 1, 2, and 3, I think you'd be really well served to take the time with yourself, go through this. And then as we further roll out these Rome podcast episodes, you'll see we'll build upon these things, but you will have the foundation set to crush whatever comes. So thanks again for listening. Thanks for your attention. I'll see you guys again soon.